Welcome to the Popish Plot. I'm Nate.
I'm Jessica.
And I'm Mike.
And today we are here to talk about Pope St. Gregory the Great.
Notice the Great.
Yeah. He's not Pope Gregory the meh.
Gregory the so-so.
He's definitely not Pope St. Gregory the...
He's not even Pope St. Gregory the pretty good. No. Great.
All right. He isn't, though, Pope St. Gregory the Astonishing.
Yes. And to the best of my knowledge, though, I hope to be disappointed. There's nothing here about smelling the stench of sin. Oh, Christina.
I didn't do a deep dive into his writings, although for his era, he was one of the popes that most of his writings were saved in, comparison to other ones.
Mm-hmm. So when was that era?
Well, first, he was also Pope Gregory the First.
Yes.
So imagine
Numero uno.
Picking the name Gregory after already, you can't top it. It's already the Great.
He was also known as Pope Gregor, or he was also known as Gregorius Aniceus.
Yes, that was his given name because this was before the popes all changed their name.
Yeah.
He was born around 540 in Rome, which at that time was the Eastern Roman Empire. Mm-hmm. And he died March 12th.
Wait. No, it was always the Western Roman Empire.
And that's what it said.
I mean, like they were divided into Eastern, Western Roman empires. No, you're right, because after the conquest of Justinian, Rome was part of the territories ruled by the East. You're right. You were right.
Well, the internet was right.
The Western Empire has fallen, yes.
Yes, because, I looked a few places, because I'm like Constantinople's the East.
Yep.
And he died March 12th, 604, where he was either 63 or 64, depending on exactly when he was born, because we have a rough year on, the birth.
For the time, a decent life.
Also in Rome, because at the time he was the Pope.
Popa!
And that was before they did all the craziness going to France.
Yes, long before that.
And his feast day was September the 3rd.
Because he was made Pope on September 3rd.
Well, I'm sorry. His feast day is September the 3rd in the Latin churches.
Yes. He was made the Pope on September 3rd in 590. And then, he stopped being Pope the day he died.
As is customary.
In the Latin Church, the day that he became Pope is the feast day since the 1960s because they moved it because, it's always during Lent otherwise.
And, you don't celebrate feasts during Lent.
Yes. So it's still the March 12th day in the various Eastern rites, in the Eastern Orthodox Church, and in the various forms of the Church of England and Lutheranism and occasional other Protestants that also celebrate his day.
Yeah.
Oh, Roman Catholic Church, RCC. I was just like, what is RCC?
Well, because that's not what we generally call ourselves.
His attributes are, having been a pope, a papal tiara.
Yeah.
The papal vestments.
Yep.
And a cross, book, and a quill.
And, of course, the papal cross.
Yes.
And a quill because he wrote a lot.
Yes.
Yes, the papal tiara, vestments, and cross.
Yes.
They count all together.
Bring back the tiara. His patronages include...
It seems silly. In no other context does a guy wear a tiara. Guys wear crowns.
In fairness, the papal tiara was actually more of a crown
it was like
than
multiple
anything.
crowns.
Yeah.
They put crowns on top of crowns.
Yeah, it's 3-level. In fact, the Ottoman Sultan, Suleiman the Magnificent, made himself a... bless you.
Sorry.
A 4-level tiara.
Just went up the Pope?
Yeah, to get I'm better than the Pope.
Can we...
No, come on. It's great.
All right.
His patronages include musicians, singers, students, and teachers. Mm-hmm. So 2 distinct categories.
Yes. And he was known for many, many things.
Because he was great.
He was a Pope. He was a monk. He was a writer. He was known for his liturgical reforms in both the Latin Rite and the Byzantine Rite Church.
Ooh.
His almsgiving. Mm-hmm. The style of chant that's named after him.
And
I do love some Gregorian chant.
More about that later.
Yep. He's a doctor of the church.
Yeah.
He's one of the Latin fathers. Mm-hmm. He's considered by many the first medieval pope because of the way he ruled in the time and everything.
Yeah.
He made the first recorded large-scale mission to the Anglo-Saxons.
I love this story.
He was the first pope who started out being a monk. Mm-hmm. He was known for fighting the Donatist heresy.
Stupid Donatists.
And was called the father of Christian worship by many people in the Middle Ages. Again, for all his reforms of the various church rites.
Yeah, because there was a very distinct form of the papacy in the early church where, Christianity was illegal and we were underground.
It was largely like trying not to die and,
Yep.
figuring out very basic things of theology.
Principally that. But then
keeping all, making sure that people were keeping all the remoter churches from dabbling into mixing with the pagans. And,
But then, as civil authority collapsed in the West, popes had to assume some temporal authority to keep the city running and keep the water flowing and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Gregory,
keep the trains on time.
Before there were trains, yes. Gregory, the first medieval style
Keep
pope.
the carts on time.
Yeah, love it.
All right, so he was born into a noble family. His father's name was
Gordianus.
And he was a senator and a prefect of Rome.
Prefect.
Yes. Which was like the highest civil authority level thing. Mm-hmm. His mother, Sylvia, was also from a noble family.
Ooh.
And sources differed in the timeline. I don't have enough details to know which one it is, but either his great or his just grandfather was Pope St. Felix III. Mm-hmm. And this was back before it was normal for clergy to not get married. So
also important to note, the numbering of the Pope's Felix is completely messed up. I'm pretty sure Pope Felix III is actually only the second, but it's super complicated.
I just think it'd be more interesting if the third came after the fourth.
That'd be great.
Various other relatives of his are also declared saints.
This is common.
Different sites seem to have like different information.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly his mother and one or two of his aunts were saints. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he also had a brother, in which basically we know is he existed.
We know he had a brother.
Like we got all this information. Like there's actual things where they describe how his dad looked, how his mom looked, he looked.
His dad was a senator, and he did in fact have a brother.
Yes, we don't even have a name for the brother.
Name, we don't know if he's older or younger, just he had a brother. Clearly, in a family of saints, this guy was the black sheep.
It's like, Pope Gregory had his mother's eyes and his dad's receding hairline.
And a brother.
He was well educated and was a government official, quickly becoming the prefect of Rome by age 33.
That's impressive.
When his father died, he made a monastery dedicated to St. Andrew out of the family villa and started his life as a monk.
Now, they were so rich they had a family villa and also like land in Sicily, so it wasn't like he like kicked out his unnamed brother.
He didn't impoverish Saint Sylvia and the saint's aunts and the brother.
Look, little brother. Look, little brother.
Whoever you are, whatever your name is.
Twin, we don't know.
Look, little brother. This is going to be a monastery now. So you can be a monk, or you can find yourself some other digs.
However, his time as a monk was nowhere near as long as he wanted.
Yeah, because he wanted it to be, the rest of his life.
Yes, which was not the case.
I would like to point out, for all those of you who are out there feeling as though you're a little old, this guy lived and had a career till somewhere in his mid-30s, and then did a complete turnaround and started a whole new career.
But anyway,
so you too can make a significant change.
Yes.
Pope
Pelagius
II ordained him as a deacon, and then had him essentially be your favorite job in the world.
Yes.
Legate.
Oh wait, no, second favorite job in the world. Second favorite job in the world is papal legate.
Okay.
The first favorite job in the world.
Oh, devil's advocate?
Devil's advocate.
They didn't have devil's advocates yet.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Francis, if you're looking for somebody,
it's not a job
I can do
anymore.
the job.
That's the great thing about being Pope. It can be a job again.
It can be a job again. And while it would probably be a cardinal or at least like a monsignor or a priest, I could do the job.
Let's consider Nate.
If you need somebody to be a naysayer, I can be a naysayer.
I mean,
No, you
technically,
can't.
technically you can't.
Why so? No, you're right. I can't.
Technically, you don't have to be a priest to be a cardinal. It's very rarely done, and it's usually you're like great scholars of the church, not just random guy on YouTube said, "Hey, I can do this job."
That sounds like a great premise for a story.
Look, there are very few jobs that I haven't been able to get on the premise of I can do that job.
So, as a papal legate, he was dispatched to the east to settle the Schism of the Three Chapters, which is incredibly obscure and technical.
Yeah.
It was really, really big at the time,
Sure.
but it sadly it got overshadowed by just about everything that came after.
Well, it's hard for us to understand what the big deal was today.
Yeah,
But it was a great division in those churches that confessed the creed of the Chalcedonian Council. Mm-hmm. All of us who believe in proper Trinitarian Christianity.
Yes, and then he was also set as an ambassador to the imperial courts of Constantinople because of our favorite Italian bad guy family.
The Lombards.
yeah.
Now, the Lombards are going to recur
Wow.
again, and they're going to play an important part of the story because
I looked at the dates and I'm like, really? He was a medieval pope until I got to that point. I'm like, yeah.
yep.
Wow.
What marked the early medieval papacy? Probably the Lombards.
Lombards, Borgias.
Well, again, very different eras. The Lombards are a whole people,
Oh,
not just a bad family.
okay.
And the whole reason why they established the Holy Roman Emperor is because the Byzantine Emperor, being too busy fighting off the Muslim hordes, wasn't properly defending Italy from the Lombards. So the Pope's like, I need a defender. Hey, you're pretty good at fighting. You want to be emperor?
Yes. This went much like most of the times when Rome asked for help on this of, I have more important things to do.
And then they're like, hey, can you come up? Sure, we'll watch a few crusades. Ah. East and West, it's very complicated stuff.
Yes, and then, he became the Pope.
Now,
During his reign and before, he wrote many, many things.
he was great. Mm-hmm. Now, to finish up, we have some really fun facts about Pope St. Gregory the Great.
First, our favorite, most hated of all the reformers, John Calvin,
Satan's own theologian.
thought he was the last good pope.
Which proves that even a broken clock is right twice a day. Even John Calvin got some things right.
Sadly, it's about the only thing you got right. But
And by that we mean him being a good pope, not the last good pope, just him being a good pope.
yes,
He was immediately canonized by popular acclaim, which
Go
back
again.
then was how you canonize people, but it didn't necessarily
Happened right away.
Right away.
Yeah.
There's the instantly he's dead, we have a new saint, and then there's the, hey, these people thought he was really good, and it spread, and some miraculous thing happened.
Yeah, they're supposed to
places
say
in their
miracles at the
life,
tomb. And yeah, but no, this one, as soon as he was dead, Santo Subito, make him a saint. Because again, he was great.
He lived through the plague of Justinian as a small boy, which was one of the early bubonic plague routes in Europe.
So it's impressive that he survived, because...
yeah. Made the term "servant of the servants of God" into a popular papal title.
I couldn't find whether he was the first person who used this, or if it was just the fact that he wrote it so many times in his work that it was now official.
He just really popularized it. Because again, he was great. He realized, how do you be great in the kingdom of God? By being a servant of others.
Also,
a servant of the servants of God.
Also, he was the one who positioned the Our Father after the consecration and the epiclesis in the Mass.
Yes, where it still stayed, because he did lots of liturgical reforms, but of course, given the fact that it was the 600s, a huge amount of the things he reformed
This
was
I
then...
believe it's called the epiclesis.
Yes,
They're holding it up.
Yeah, was then re-reformed later on.
Reform of the reform of the reform.
So in the West, this is one of the things where it's like, this is his spot. Apparently the reforms he did in one of the Byzantine rites, they pretty much used the exact same thing.
Do we know where it was before?
I think it was much earlier in the Mass.
Interesting.
It said somewhere, and I didn't write it down.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And then the thing we said we were going to circle back to, because...
Gregorian Chant.
Yeah. In all likelihood, he did not start this type of chant because it was first noted as being Gregorian chant about 3 centuries later in a biography. And, like, the, music historians who are looking at it are like, okay, this part seems to be Frankish, and this part seems to be Roman, and it had emerged, farther along in the history of the church than his lifetime.
Yeah. So as great as Gregory was, it's not like he was personally sitting there authoring, Gregorian chants that we would recognize.
Yeah, it's not like St. Hildegard where she wrote these songs. You can still sing these songs.
Yeah.
These are the songs she wrote.
Yeah, though again, she's like 600 years later than him.
Yes. Although,
But, yeah.
he did make a rule that deacons are not allowed to sing except for the gospel. Which I'm sure had more meanings of the fact that everyone chanted everything, but I just like, no singing.
Everyone can sing, but you.
I kind of want to hear. I picture it being very similar to the Exalted at Easter Vigil.
Which is supposed to be sung by the deacon.
And I really kind of want to hear...
But the
church,
10th grade theology teacher is
church.
much better at singing.
I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying the books are very clear. It's supposed to be deacon. And he just refuses.
I kind of want to attend a church. I kind of want to attend a church where the deacon will actually try singing the gospel.
I've seen the gospel sung or chanted. It doesn't particularly impress me.
No.
Only I'm not saying it's not I'm not saying it's not beautiful, but there's no narrative thread. Like there are people who read the readings as if they're reading the phone book, and that's no good. And there are people who read the readings like they're putting on a one-man play, and that's also no good.
You need the middle ground.
You've got a middle ground where there's some emotion, but not too much. The problem with the chanting is, all the words are there, but you're not telling a story.
And I imagine the chanting works much better in the Greek or Latin that they were doing back then because it's a much more
English,
flowy language than English.
In reality, English doesn't lend itself to chant really well, which is why I don't like the anglicized version of the Anima Christi prayer. Because
it's clunky in places.
Because English is a chunky, clunky language.
Just do what I do. Memorize it in Latin.
That I have memorized it in Latin, and when everybody else is praying it in English, I pray it in Latin because it has a nice flow. I won't be one of those crazy people who says that Latin is magic. But Latin does have a beautiful sound to it when it's said properly.
I have no idea how to say it properly. I'm sure my pronunciation is terrible.
It's a dead language, so as long as it seems possibly, like, if you're like, that sounds vaguely Italian, it's probably right.
By properly, I simply meant by someone who's trying to, I don't know how to properly say it, but I have an idea of how it's supposed to sound.
Mm-hmm.
It's like whenever one of the singers have to do something in Latin that's not like one of the things we do all the time, and they're like, I hope we did it right, and it's like, if anyone says anything, just yell ecclesiastical Latin and you can continue on. Carry
on! It's ecclesiastical Latin!
It's slightly different in ways we're not exactly sure.
Keep marching! So, Pope St. Gregory the Great. A great pope, a great scholar, a great man.
Maybe or maybe not a great singer.
Indeed. Although that's kind of supposed to be the point of Gregorian chant. Like, everybody could kind of do it. Yeah, it's not polyphony, where you need to be a great singer. That stuff is really only meant for the concert hall. It's crazy.
So, go down below to the comment section and leave us a comment of what you think about Pope St. Gregory the First. Maybe something that we didn't cover that you think got missed. Maybe you have another saint or another pope that you feel needs to get the same treatment as what we did here.
Maybe you have a strong opinion on the schism of the 3 chapters.
Look, if you know what the schism of the 3 chapters was about, we want to know.
If you can explain it to us and it's not a TLDR situation, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, like 3 sentences at tops. If you can pull that off.
The Cliff's Notes version.
A sentence for each chapter?
Yes!
Yes. While you're down there, go to that like button and hit that, because, I mean, if you made it this far, you had to have kind of liked this.
Oh, you like it.
And while you're by the like button, hit the subscribe button right next to it and the bell right next to that so you get notified when new episodes come out. New.
When we explain the Schism of the 3 chapters.
New.
We're never going to do that.
New Year 8 episodes.
That'll be right after cheese poetry.
Also, go back and find the episode where we said that if it gets 100 likes, we'll make Mike do cheese poetry because
In a live stream.
Because it's been 7 years now, and we
Still
haven't...
valid.
I think it's like only been like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
It wasn't a year 1 thing.
That's fine. It's been several years, and we still haven't made him do live cheese poetry.
Offer still stands.
I didn't care if you were willing to honor it. I was going to make you honor it. Sorry, I mean, I totally respect you as a human individual,
Can't you feel the respect?
but you were going to do it. We made a promise. We have to hold ourselves to that promise.
Amen. Our yes means yes, and our no means no.
That's right.
And our cheese poetry is ridiculous.
I don't know. It seems pretty good. That's not how you pronounce it correctly.
Thankfully, our cheese poetry is probably better than our cheese dad jokes.
Our cheese puns.
Cheese puns.
All right, take us out, Nate.
All right, and until next time, remember to live your faith.
Love your faith.
Share that love.